When I started off as a young naturalist, the essential tools were things like a magnifying glass and a butterfly net and a bucket, and now you can add to that a camera trap. They are an absolutely amazing tool. I mean, sure, you still need the same skills to be able to track the animals and put yourself into their heads, but if you do it right, then they do all the hard work while you're tucked up nice and safe in bed. And the excitement of just not knowing what you're going to get on those images is just absolutely amazing. So since lockdown began, I've been kind of running my own mini Springwatch from home, and I've kind of turned into a wildlife peeping Tom with cameras pretty much set up all over my local area, particularly in the local badger set. So the badger set is in a bit of beautiful beech woodland, and during the daytime you get wandering through shot roe deer and these muntjac as well. That's a female there who hasn't got any horns. And then come about this time of night, the badgers come out, and the two cubs, there's just two of them, seem to spend at least the first hour doing nothing but mucking about, playing, fighting. And the main game seems to be grabbing a hold of your brother or sister's tail and just trying to tear it off with your teeth. Obviously, they are just, they're learning their skills, they're preparing, but it's amazing to watch. And it's incredible how much information you can glean from these clips. So this is two muntjacs. It's probably the female and her youngster, her fawn or kid. And you can see the tail there is raised. It's possible that the youngster can scent that the female is now receptive, and therefore that the youngster needs to start heading off and making a future of its own. So I've been following the fortunes of lots of animals around here, including the swallows and the ducks and the geese that have been nesting in my garden, exulting with their triumphs and being utterly crushed by their failures. But there are no animals that are as important to me as this one right here. So this is the pen or female of the pair of swans that are resident on our little patch of river. And we think that they got together at the same time as me and my wife, which is obviously incredibly romantic. The first few times that they tried to nest was on our front lawn, on our garden. And to begin with, they were pretty haphazard with it. It was a bit of a disaster. And then eventually, in I think 2017, they did manage to have a successful youngsters here with a nest which was composed mostly of stuff that was ripped from our lawn, so our hose pipe and the mop bucket and a rope and my mountaineering boots. And despite the fact that they were still super territorial with anyone else who came into the garden, they were very, very accepting of Helen and I, and would sit by while the cygnets came up and pretty much got into our laps. So right now, the pen is in front of me. She is pretty much all the time on the nest. You can see her just moving around now. Occasionally she will shift the eggs around, turning the eggs. And if she does leave the nest, she'll cover it up to try and make sure that predators can't see it. Last year, that unfortunately didn't succeed, and foxes did come in and predate the nest. And seriously, it was absolutely crushing. But if all goes well, in a couple of weeks' time, we will have a swan family here on the reach, and it's always a beautiful, beautiful thing to see. They keep very close to the parents, both mother and father, super, super protective, and they will even allow the young cygnets to clamber right up onto their backs in between their wings, which is just beyond cute, covered in that extraordinary downy grey fur. So you might think that this is not how you normally expect to see me talking about wildlife. I mean, normally I'm sort of diving with crocodiles and sharks and things, and seeing me kind of having this emotional connection to wildlife might seem a little bit strange, but I think it's some of it down to the fact that I now have my own family, and that starts making you thinking very different about nature. So Helen and I had babies who have only really had life in lockdown. Our twins were born just before lockdown, and our firstborn son, Logan, is coming up to 2 now. And there is no greater joy than seeing his eyes light up when, for example, we head out in the big red canoe to feed the local goslings.
Baby swans. Baby swans.
They're not baby swans, these are baby geese. They're goslings. You say goslings?
Goslings.
Goslings. We were feeding them peas there, and I think that Logan actually ate more than he gave away. He came back with them smeared all over his face. He looked like Shrek. You know, I was prepared for there to be an emotional response to experiencing nature through his eyes for the first time again, but I wasn't prepared for the amount of nostalgia, this almost sense of melancholy with a return to my own childhood and how my parents introduced me to nature, because it's been such a powerful presence in my life. It's been my inspiration, it's been my medicine, my escape. And I really hope that for my young family, it can be the same. And they can also get pleasure from the simple things like heading out into the back field and going looking for butterflies and beetles.
Ladybird.
It's not a ladybird, but it is a beetle. Oh! Yeah, that was me for the second time correcting my not quite 2-year-old on what kind of species a beetle was. I am going to be a horrific father. But, you know, I so hope that they embrace nature the same way I have, because it has given me so much and been the greatest gift that my parents gave me, this connection to the wild world. And now, just pure and simple, to sit with the babies on our laps watching the bird feeders beats the hell out of Netflix.